Hi, this is an overview of my trip last summer through 9 national parks on my way to Montana. I thought I tried to vlog the whole thing, and I ended up with over 5 hours of footage, which I've edited down to under an hour here, so hopefully it's somewhat entertaining and educational. I'll try to put timestamps down below, so if you want to jump to a specific park, you can do that now. I was on my own, but halfway through I took a pit stop in Salt Lake City for a few days and hung out with a friend who lived there. So if you're wondering why Corey shows up halfway through, that's why. Okay, let's hit the road.
Managed to fill up the whole car for one person, but I'm also going to be gone for 3 weeks, so we'll see how this goes. Okay, getting ready to take off. Actually, I'll start the car right now. It is 7:28 on Wednesday, June 5th. Okay, so I want to explain how this trip evolved in the first place. Always kind of looking for a summer trip and was debating some different ideas, and there was a family wedding in Montana at the end of June. And I wasn't for sure if I was going to go or not, just because I've been to Montana several times and it's gorgeous, don't get me wrong, and love to go there and catch up with the family and everything. But if I was going to go, I didn't want to do basically the same cookie cutter trip that we've been doing every time since I was little and we were going up there. So I was debating some other trips. Theoretically, I thought going out west instead and driving would be a way to save money. Of course, by the time I got everything booked, I don't think it was any cheaper and may end up being more expensive, but here we are. So, yes, the wedding is June 22nd in Montana, and I am leaving on June 5th to take the ultimate scenic route to Montana. I'm taking basically 2 weeks in a day to get to where the wedding is, and gonna hit all the national parks, not all the national parks, but a good chunk of them. I think 9 national parks are on the list, so this is gonna be exhausting, but it should be awesome. I can get a lot of hiking in, probably get a little too much sun, and try to avoid all the rattlesnakes and breakdowns and everything else. But just entered the mountain time zone. I always forget that basically the last row of counties in Kansas are actually mountain time zone. Still no mountains in sight though. Hey, look, a mountain. Who are the people that decided where the roads will go? Shout out to those guys. Or girls. Yeah, I don't know if that's the national park yet, but that's a lot of sand next to those mountains. Okay, I am so excited. It's a small crowd. The sand dunes right there, the White Cat Peaks in the back there, and you can hear the water flowing. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful day. I am just so excited to go explore. Okay, let's try that again. After putting on boots and long pants because it's cold out, I'm now in bare feet to cross the water here. Oh, this might not be the best spot. Oh yeah, that's mountain runoff. Like, my feet are already frozen. Oh my gosh. This is kind of fun though. It's unique. Okay, yeah, this is just kind of insane. So I just walked through the water. I was going no shoes, barefoot here the whole way, I guess for a couple hours. The water was freezing, but it warms right back up, even though it's barely 50 degrees outside. Again, you kind of like these national parks, just the hikes are so unique, and this is definitely no exception, where I'm going to do a barefoot hike through the sand after going through ice cold water. Just this is awesome. Named dunes, like the hike I'm supposed to be on is to High Dune. I don't think there's actually a trail, so I'm guessing High Dune is just the closest high one here, and there's Star Dune past that I probably won't necessarily have time for, but I'm always just used to trails. This doesn't seem to be trails, it's just go to the top however you can get there. It actually reminds me a lot of the snowy hike I took in Glacier National Park. Just the way it's kind of given and you don't have firm footing, you're just kind of sliding the whole time, but it's still kind of awesome. Just obviously sand instead of snow. Pretty sure there's a sarlacc in there, I need to be careful. Yeah, this is nuts. So at first I regretted not getting my boots because it was a little rough after the river. Now I think barefoot's better. On the steep part, I basically just stab my foot into the loose sand and create my steps that way. Versus the boots, I think would actually slide worse because I wouldn't be able to dig in as deep. Whew. Well, that was literally and figuratively breathtaking, and there's still a little bit more to go. Finally made it to High Dune. Accidentally took the scenic road around. Well, it's all scenic. I took the long road around, not realizing which dune was High Dune, but this is it according to the GPS and it being the highest one in the field. Okay, that was awesome. That was one of the most fun things I've actually done in my whole life. My feet are a little bit raw from being barefoot for 2 hours on the sand, going up and down. It was crazy. Also, best thing I ever did was get here super early. I think I got here about 7:30 and the parking lot was almost empty. Now it's just after 10 and it's basically full. And I'm getting ready to leave as people are just kind of showing up. Also, too, I was thinking it probably would be better to have a pair of backup shoes with me up there. Just there were times where it was a little rougher, and especially on the way back where I was just kind of tired of being barefoot. But also, I was lucky that the sand never got hot, so I don't know to what extent the sand might get hot later in the day and you really couldn't be barefoot. It was nice and cool for me, but again, it's just now 10 o'clock and I'm leaving. Yeah, I'm following another car looking for a spot. I just left, so it doesn't know mine's available, but there's not. Mine was the only spot available now. This parking lot is full. Like, I don't even know what you would do. Okay, starting day 3, headed to Black Canyon National Park, or Black Canyon of the Gunnison. It's like the only national park that has like this little subtitle. Still pretty tired from yesterday, honestly. A little sore. I mean, it was definitely a good glute workout, hiking up all the sand dunes and then into the other hike I did. Getting an early start, I still think that's the best plan. I set my alarm for 5:30. It snoozed once, but it's 6:40, and I'm just about 10 minutes out from the national park, so should be beating the crowds again. And it doesn't look like this is a park I need to spend a ton of time in, so I almost might even be done by noon or 1 again, and I just think, again, that's the best way to do it, and then I can just kind of relax the rest of the day, staying tonight in Grand Junction. And I'm almost at the turnaround point. I guess there's basically just like from the visitor center, a 7-mile road that's kind of an out and back. There's a hike at the end, so I'm going to get to the end here, park, eat. But again, there's just kind of no one around. I almost feel like, though, I'm getting too obsessed with staying ahead of the crowd that I'm trying to rush through everything. So I do want to make sure I kind of, you know, stop and smell the roses, so to speak. River down below, sunrise. It's kind of like it's just not even real. Okay, so I think I figured something out. It's all just so overwhelming, and I'm taking these pictures that are all slightly different, but yet all seem important. And the biggest comparison I just thought of is it's like the kid in A Christmas Story when he wakes up on Christmas Day and is like, oh, that's mine, that's neat. Oh, wait, oh, then sees another one. Oh, that's mine, that's mine. So I just feel like I'm like that, going around taking pictures. Oh, that's a picture, that's a good picture. Oh, wait, oh, no, that's a good picture. Hey, you know. So I just did the south rim, that out and back route I was mentioning. Ended up stopping at all the little lookouts or whatever. There's a north rim that you have to drive all the way around. I mean, it's like maybe like 100 miles out of the way. And then there is the east portal that is, I guess, the only way to get down to the actual river itself. And I suppose if I had more time here, that would be something to explore. And technically, I could probably make it work, but since I hadn't really planned on it, I don't want to waste a couple hours doing that to not even be able to make any progress with it. And again, I'm kind of exhausted. So if you're doing 2 days in Black Canyon, I'd say you want to have maybe one on the north rim and then one heading out to the river on the east. So we definitely rely too much on technology. I have 3 bars, but the internet's not working, so, and I don't have a map. And I'm just hoping that I'll pick up a better tower, however cellular stuff works. It's all magic. It started working, but for like 2 minutes there, it was like I was basically a caveman. Okay, we're in Utah now. Of course, as I just posted on Instagram, all these lines are arbitrary, man. You just can't just like say this is Utah, this is Colorado, right? But it is kind of funny. I mean, all this exists regardless of what we've decided to call certain areas, and just especially when you look at the mountains here, they're just what, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years old. I don't think the mountains care that they're in Utah, although Utah's gorgeous. So I left I-70 to get on Highway 128 just because I was told it was the more scenic route into Arches. So basically, instead of going straight west and then kind of southeast back into Moab, I'm going basically straight southwest toward Moab. Just thinking this all must change relatively quickly. So what I remember of Arches is basically just nothing but, you know, red rock and all the formations, and I'm only 40 miles from Arches, and it's still kind of that, you know, shrub, prairie, chaparral, whatever you call it, and you know, with Whitecap Mountains in the back there, and maybe I'm seeing a little bit of that red rock, but just kind of crazy. I guess I'm in anticipation of how much is going to change over the next 40 miles. Okay, yeah, definitely the scenic route. Got the, what must be the Colorado River there on my left. Now I'm kind of into those foothills that of course are full of giant boulders, and you know, they don't look impressive from far away, but then when you're kind of right up in them, it's something else. Oh man. Yeah, pulling in Arches a little bit before 9 o'clock, and here are the crowds that I've been dreading the whole time. It's a huge line just to even get into the entry gate. I can't help but feel this is similar to like waiting in line for a ride at Disneyland, and we're all just kind of like eagerly patient and frustrated all at the same time somehow. And yeah, I'm excited, but I'm also dreading these crowds. Arches National Park. And this is just the entrance drive past the visitor center to kind of get to the fun stuff. A trail. Like, I wouldn't even believe it if there wasn't people kind of all over it. It's supposed to go to the turnaround 00 arch here. Okay, just got back to the car after the Devil's Playground, I think it was called. Why can't I never remember the names of anything? So yeah, that was awesome. It was about 3 hours out and back. From the 00 arch. There was a kind of a roundabout way, but again, you're always kind of balancing food, thirst, and the need to pee, and just trying to time all these expeditions. It was like I said, a nice 3 hour hike, and actually the hike itself was nicer than the specific arches you were hiking to. It was a trail I would call at best semi-intuitive. There are parts that the only reason I kind of knew to keep going was that everyone else was keep going, so if I had to come here with a minimal crowd, I probably would have turned around way earlier and assumed like there's no way that's a trail and just kind of given up. So it was kind of nice, I guess, having other people around, and as crowded as the parking lot is, because it is just flat full. Once you get there, it's a big enough area. I mean, the parking lot, I guess, relative to the area you're hiking is small enough actually that everyone gets pretty spread out. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people around, but you can still get all the pictures you're taking, and So memory is an interesting thing. When I got to the beginning of that trail, I was at Arches 19 years ago, but I couldn't remember, other than Delicate Arch, where exactly all we had gone. But then the moment I'm starting that trail, I'm like, oh, 100% I have been right here before on this trail. And certain parts, you know, you're not sure, and you couldn't know, but the flip side is that certain parts I'm like, yep, I remember this exactly. I remember even thinking like, wait, wasn't there a part when I actually got to go in one of the arches? And then sure enough, like 15 minutes later, yep, here it is, and I'm in that same arch that I remember from 19 years ago. It's also one too, like Arches specifically is the one that just kind of shocked me. So it was a spring break trip in the year 2000, and went to the Grand Canyon and Arches, and Grand Canyon was amazing, and I'd been there when I was little, and it blew me away more than it did when I was a kid. But you kind of know what it is, and it's famous. It's kind of like the whole Rome versus Florence thing, or Munich versus Berlin thing. The bigger, more famous one, yeah, they're awesome, but you almost are more blown away by the smaller ones that catch you off guard. So I'd never even heard of Arches National Park until I went to it 19 years ago, and it just kind of blew me away, and super excited to be back. And it's everything I could remember. And then with hiking in general, the thought I had was that why it doesn't necessarily get old, even though you can kind of get not numb to the scenery, but that initial awe it fades. I mean, that's human nature. With anything like that, novelty wears off. But no matter how many trails I get to, I feel like I always have the, ooh, what's this way? Ooh, what's this way? And every time I have that same, ooh, what's this way? And it's just so much fun to get that excitement.
All right, woke up at 4:30 to try to beat the crowds, and so far so good. There are some cars in the parking lot. It's just before sunrise. I mean, it's light out, but the sun hasn't technically risen yet, or will in about a few minutes here. So yeah, it's 6:05 in the morning, and I feel like I'm late. The sun's already hitting the mountains behind me, and some people are already hiking back, and I still got another, probably 10 minutes to go. So it's like I missed sunrise. So all I'm getting is beating the crowds, and I feel like I should have left just 20 minutes earlier.
All right, yeah, that was cool too. It took about 2 hours, just under 2 hours, and it was a tough trail. There was like parts you had to literally climb, like they had like ladders and what do you call it? Metal cords, metal rope. It was metal rope, kind of strung through where you could grab on in some parts, and it was an arch every bit as impressive as anything in Arches. It's just enough separate that it's not part of the park, and there was no charge or anything. You just kind of park at the trailhead, and it was took 40 minutes to get to the big Corona Arch. And I've noticed that it's even though it's not humid or anything, it is probably best to try to avoid the hikes in the heat of the day. The Corona Arch hike yesterday in the heat of the day, even though it wasn't that hot, was I wouldn't say a bad idea, but it makes it tougher. Yeah, I love getting here so early that there's no one at the visitor center.
The site behind me, actually not sure if it was something that rose up and collapsed, or if it was actually a meteor hit, and they're leaning meteor hit now.
So it kind of all starts to come together here. First of all, this whole area would be called Island of the Sky, as far as this half of Canyonlands, because when you get to that Grand Viewpoint overlook, it's like you have an aerial view of all the canyons and everything down below. So it really is like you're on an island in the sky looking at all these just amazing features. So I have to admit, I think I expected Canyonlands to be a little underwhelming after Arches, and that has proven to not be the case. Okay, day 7, I guess, because it's Tuesday and I left on Wednesday. So it's just after 6 a.m. I am leaving the KOA campground, headed to Capitol Reef.
See, this is just the stuff that's randomly on the side of the road in Utah. This isn't a state park or a national park. This is just some land that's got that on it, because it's Utah and it's gorgeous. Getting a little excited here for Capitol Reef just because I'm still like 20-some miles from the park and everything is just already like national park caliber gorgeous. So even though there may not be a lot of stops, once again, my expectations were kind of low, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, this is all the stuff that's not in the national park. So what's the national park going to look like? And again, everything's just a little different. Even though we're kind of staying in Utah here, everything shifts just enough that it's kind of unique in its own way. So it doesn't look like there's an entry fee or anything. It's less than 20 miles. Basically, this highway goes through the park, and yeah, the park has a lot of stuff north and south. That's the out of the way stuff I was talking about. But it looks like there's tons of turnoffs and scenic views, and maybe even a couple hikes just off the highway here that goes through the park. It's just far less intuitive about where to go and what to do. And yeah, this is just kind of the scenic drive area. Capitol Reef in general, it's very cool. Of the 5 I've been to, I would say it probably ranks at the bottom, but I feel bad too because it's also the 5th of 9 that I'm visiting, so it's the middle child of this trip. Still worth stopping through again, especially since it's kind of just through the highway, so it's definitely worth a stop when you're visiting these other ones. And I can't imagine though maybe taking a trip only to come to Capitol Reef. Otherwise, man, it is very impressive. I mean, it is rocks. So yeah, just kind of an odd park. Like I could never even tell when I left it. Okay, yeah, this place is awesome. So the forest, you kind of get to like the lookout points, and the forest just drops away into this canyon with all these white-topped red rock pillars, and it's, again, like nothing I've ever seen. And the park's set up a little more straightforward and definitely feels more like a national park than Capitol Reef did. So there's kind of the main, they call it the amphitheater area, and everything's kind of centered around that. The visitor center, there's an old lodge, and then there's a shuttle system that actually has drop-off points all around this amphitheater. And that's kind of where I just did with my first little hike, kind of into that a little bit. Okay, yeah, this place is awesome. So 6 parks in, and I'm gonna say Bryce Canyon wins best views on my trip so far. And again, not to slight the other places, but wow. And I'm hitting the park entrance right now. I'm already seeing tons of shuttle spots and paid parking spots. Like, this place is definitely set up for huge crowds. Okay, I'm still not sure what's going on. The visitor center area is actually kind of set up like an amusement park. Like, it almost reminds me of Disney, just the way
everything's kind of so vast and spread out, and all the shuttles and everything set up. And somehow I always forget that when you see these swirling things on a map, it's because the switchback's going uphill, and I'm definitely getting a little of that white knuckly anxious as we're going higher and higher up the cliffside here. There is that phenomenon called the call of the void, and it's kind of that, oh, I don't even want to talk about it right now, but that kind of that feeling you get near the edge of like a cliff into a vast opening, and just kind of like, you can't help but think, what if I drove off a cliff? What if I jumped in? And like, it's apparently a normal thing, and it's called the call of the void, and it's actually kind of, I guess, considered weird if you don't have that. But yeah, it's it's happening right now. There's a sign that said no sunglasses because we're about to go into a tunnel. It said lights on, no stopping, sunglasses off.
Slippery when wet.
It is a really good park, the way they have things laid out, where it's basically just this giant canyon, and then there's an out and back that has shuttles that run. Never had to wait more than like a minute or two for a shuttle. It seemed like they're just kind of constantly coming through, but it just didn't go well as far as what I wanted to do. So the whole thing's an out and back, and my goal was to do a hike or trail called the Narrows, where the two sides of the canyons come together, and you guys will like walk through water. So my whole day was geared on going to the Narrows, like down to taking the waterproof pack I got so I could put the camera in it in case I was in the river, waterproof boots on, and I packed a towel and everything, just planning on getting wet, and that being like the main thing. Spending like 5 hours up there at the Narrows. As soon as I get there, oh, the Narrows is closed. So I just spent almost an hour getting up to the north end of the park to find out that's closed. And then I just kind of took my time, stopped at each stop on the way back. Didn't want to do the Angel's Landing Trail initially because it said don't do it if you're scared of heights, but I was also like seeing like huge crowds of all ages doing it, so I probably could have managed it no problem. But also I had all the gear, and by that time it was getting really hot, and I hadn't brought any food with me, even though I had enough water. So if I could hit reset on this whole day, I would have prepared and made Angel's Landing the first stop, so I could have done it, been one of the first people there, done it while it was cool, and not have to stress it, knowing that I wasn't going to go to the Narrows because it was closed, and it would have just been, I think, a lot better day. Okay, Friday morning, June 14th, first day since the first day of the trip that I'm not visiting a national park, and I think I was kind of ready for the break. Just I think I have like 6 consecutive days of over 20,000 steps. Okay, I am on I-15 heading north to Salt Lake City. Just left Cedar City. So on the interstate, I saw a couple signs talking about Great Basin National Park. I was like, how did I miss a national park in Utah? And so I kind of pulled up the map there as I was driving, like, how far to Great Basin National Park? It's in Nevada, and it looks like it's a couple hours, few hours from the interstate. But I thought about it for a little bit. I'm like, oh, should I just jot over to Great Basin National Park real quick? But not this time. Not this time. Try to smash through again here on the video.
Like, it doesn't even leave footprints. It's so hard.
Oh, wow.
Like, look at this.
Huh.
And it's kind of watery underneath. Like, if you do this, you can see. Oh my god.
Again, never seen anything like that. What the heck? And then they're settling back behind us. Wait, why aren't they landing on us? Well, I guess they are a little bit, but crazy. Okay, finally we found our trail marker.
Look at where it says Lake Mary, you can't even see.
And just it's so quiet here.
Okay, it is Monday morning, June something, 17th maybe? Definitely losing track. I'm in Idaho. Alright, it's just shy of 6 in the morning. I am driving to Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. So, kind of confused, stopped at the first visitor center and it wasn't open yet, and I think it probably just opened at 8 o'clock and I was just there a few minutes early, but there wasn't actually a sign that said that anywhere. Hey, finally I see the little ticket thing here. I'm just so confused on where this park starts. Morning.
Good morning, how you doing?
Good.
Alright, do you need maps and newspapers?
I do, please. Thank you. Hey, now I feel like we're in the park, and the pass was worse than, because that was another $35 to get in there otherwise. So $80 for an annual pass. Like, shoot, you're going to a few parks where you actually stop if they can pay. It pays for itself very quickly.
Bears! Just did a 3-hour hike. Then, when I get back to the visitor parking lot, there's a bear, a mama bear and 2 cubs, and got to where they were so close to like the railing kind of by the visitor center parking lot that I was actually backing up away from the railing because she got like within 20 meters of me easy.
So, very different vibe here, of course. This is kind of the snow-peaked mountains in the forest with the lakes and the wildlife, as opposed to like the rock formations that were kind of prominent in the other parks I've been to so far.
Saying just like, you know, random forest stuff, you know, just the road, just trees, people driving by, and then randomly the ground is boiling.
Okay, Wednesday morning, June 16th. I just camped at the KOA in Yellowstone. It was really cold. Shoot, I just missed like a whole family of elk. Like I couldn't get to the pull off fast enough, and then I tried to get my camera out, and then I basically got out of the car just in time to see the last couple of them kind of like field of dreamsing their way into the brush and away from where they were. So I made it to Old Faithful just as it was kind of winding down. So I think it kind of goes off for about 5 minutes-ish. And I showed up for about the last 90 seconds or 2 minutes. So again, I've seen it a million times before, so we're just kind of coming to get some decent pictures of it maybe. And it was kind of meh, but I'm not going to stick around another 90 minutes, so we are moving on. Okay, did a little hike out to, I can't remember the names of anything. Some waterfall at the Biscuit Basin. There was about a 1 mile each way hike, and again, I've just never been able to actually hike at Yellowstone. So because we're always so rushed. So it was kind of nice to actually do that. Other than you're more afraid of bear at Yellowstone than at other parks as far as being a real possibility. Probably because I actually saw one up close yesterday. Makes you a little more nervous, and the signs even say don't hike alone. And then I stopped back at Grand Prismatic Springs. I had gone there on the way to Old Faithful, and it was really foggy, so I wanted to go back, and it was quite a bit better. But I think just on a cool day, you're getting that steam just coming off of the thermic areas, and there's always going to be, I don't know, maybe if it's better if it's really hot. It's the one, if you look up the images of it, it's like this brilliant blue and orange and just crazy colors, and I've never actually seen that. Stuck in traffic here, like I don't know what's going on. This might be it. I see like an enormous herd of bison. Okay, it might have been like 100, and there was like calves and everything. I wasn't gonna mess with the crowd to stop, but it was pretty darn cool. This is ridiculous. Like, you can't actually do anything at Yellowstone because of the crowds. Like, I'm on the other side of the park from Old Faithful, and I'm driving into a parking lot that's probably going to be full to drive back, and we're standing still again, and I'm just gonna have to drive back out because it's going to be full, and then won't actually be able to look at anything. Yeah, like the car behind me just did a U-turn on the double yellow because there's no one coming back, and we're stalled out this way. That's probably the right idea. This makes no sense. I can only imagine that you got stubborn people sitting there and just kind of waiting for a spot to open up, which then backs up the entire line. Yep. When I turned, I saw the vehicle. Yeah, he was just stopped waiting for a spot to open up, and all the rest of us have to wait. Yeah, I'm gonna drive through like a normal person, and if there's a spot, there's a spot. If there's not, there's not. I actually got a spot. There's an empty spot as I just slowly go into the parking lot. I got a spot. Better hang out here for a while. So they have set up some overflow parking for the Norris area, but it seems really dangerous. There's no pedestrian path, so you just have to like walk along the side of the road with the little to no shoulder. It's pretty sketchy, but they did technically set up the shoulders outside the entrance as overflow parking. Norris is just an area with just a lot of activity. It actually looks like it technically falls outside the Caldera line. It had a geyser that, man, it's probably more impressive than Old Faithful. It's just less reliable. So the idea of Old Faithful is that it fairly predictably erupts. This one does not. It had intervals varying. It's basically its last 7 eruptions. The interval between them varied from 3 to 7 days. But it just has this constant billow of steam Inspiration Point, and kind of just all the overlooks of the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone, and very, very impressive. Like, actually to the point where I hate saying Old Faithful is overrated, but I don't think it's the best feature of the park. But man, that's just because as cool as the geothermic stuff is, and it's definitely worth seeing, especially if you've never seen it, and I've just kind of grown up with it grown up with it, I guess. Just the vastness of the canyon, and with the Yellowstone walls of the canyon, and the waterfalls, and it was probably actually my first oh wow moment of the park. And I've seen it before. I'm not sure which all angles I've seen before, which exact spots I've been to before. And I know I've seen the canyon before, but man, got me again. It's worth noting how many of the pine trees around here look really, really young. And when I was younger, I know there was a big fire here, and I remember even being here, then seeing a lot of the fire damage, and then saplings, and I can't remember how many years ago that was, but and then now you're seeing just a lot of these really young pines, and it's kind of neat when you think about, you know, such an old park, such an old place, an old forest, but mostly, at least from what you can see on the roads I've been on, young trees. Oh my gosh, the bison again. Every time I assume it's like, okay, just, you know, the park is crowded, everyone's trying to get out. It's like, no, it was backed up. I dead serious 20 miles because there was a lot of bison by the road. 20 miles of Here's me hanging out with all the bison this morning. Hi guys. How you doing? Hi. I can run over and pet him real quick. Probably shouldn't. It is kind of funny though, that's how you drive through Yellowstone. You just kind of are always on the lookout for wildlife as you're driving, and if you need to pull over, and then if you see other people pulled over, you kind of are even more alert that maybe they saw something. So it's kind of even part of the game of Yellowstone. It's got to be done in a way that doesn't ruin the experience for everyone else, and doesn't just check traffic like again yesterday. There's a lot of bison, so we're backed up for 20 miles. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So it's part of the fun, but I wish everyone did it the right way. Okay, I got my hike for the day in at Slough Creek Trail. It's really chilly right now. Nice trail. Definitely lots of warnings on looking for bear. It says moose are off in this area, so I was hoping to finally see a moose this trip. But just a nice, calm, pretty hike. And I think ultimately, as I'm winding up all 9 parks that I visited this trip, Yellowstone's strength is its diversity. You have, you know, the crazy canyons and rocks and mountains. You have the beautiful snow-capped mountains. You have the hilly forests and wooded areas. You have the wildlife. All that's just gorgeous by itself. And then on top of that, it has like some of the most unique geothermic features on the planet. So just kind of when you combine all that, you really see why it's top dog when it comes to national parks. That said, without going back and looking at all the pictures and but just as far as impressions go, I'm going to give Bryce Canyon the win as far as just the most kind of jaw-dropping awe-inspiring views and scenery and everything and features of the trip. And maybe that was because it stands out as the most unique and maybe unexpected. I didn't know exactly what to expect at Bryce Canyon. Not to neglect the virtues of all the other parks I visited. Everyone was worth the visit. Reef, no reason to go out of your way for, but again, it's kind of connected to, so definitely worth the scenic drive. Zion, I need to go back to, as it kind of remains the most disappointing based on expectations, with some of the major things being closed or me being unprepared, and might be one hit at a cooler time of year if possible. So driving on Beartooth and snow everywhere. It's beautiful, and I had to check. Curious on the is that much higher altitude than Yellowstone? And yeah, I'm about 9,600 feet. So if I go much farther, I'll be over 10,000 feet. And I think some of the highest spots in Yellowstone were maybe 7 or 8. So, and you can also see why this is often an impassable road. Oh dang, there's like snow on the road, and I just saw motorcyclists fall down. They're all right, but they kind of wiped out and are trying to get back going on the road. I'm getting pretty nervous now. I figured the motorcyclists can make it, I can make it, and they're going slow here too. But oh my gosh. Scary. Oh, holy cow, my adrenaline is going, because you start thinking, am I gonna get stuck up here? Like, what's gonna happen? Do I have to turn around and go back all the way through Yellowstone? Or I guess, man, when they said this road was open, I didn't think it was gonna be like, oh, and just barely, and maybe shouldn't be. Like, I was going through snow. There was parts where it was zero visibility. I couldn't stop and get a picture of it, but there was one of those, 25, well, I couldn't tell the speed limit, but it was like sharp turns ahead, slow down kind of thing. The speed limit part was in snow, to where you couldn't even see what it actually was. Throw my hazards on whenever I'm kind of going really slow here. Yeah, this is, I heard people say it was scary. I didn't know ice on the road, you're gonna die when you slide off scary.
Spoiler alert, I did survive. I wanted to include that though, because it is a kind of famous scenic drive and one of the many ways into and out of Yellowstone Park, but it can be pretty sketchy, and it was way scarier than it looked on the video there. I was not obviously recording in the worst parts because I was, worried about staying alive. The rest of the trip was just the family wedding in Montana, and then driving back through. I had to go by Devil's Tower and kind of went through South Dakota and back down into Kansas City. But that was essentially it. A lot of the video I cut out was just more the logistical things of camping and Airbnbs and just the nuts and bolts of actually going through the trip. A lot of stuff that was easy to cut out. But if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I guess we'll see if we can point you in the right direction. If you made it this far, thanks for watching, and hopefully I can take another trip once all this pandemic stuff is over. Later.